we always begin our inquiry circle with a quote from Baba that really supports us in understanding the value of inquiry, because he talks a lot about the mind, and I had not realized all the things he said about the mind until I think he inspired me to go back and look at discourses and pull out his comments on the mind and how they were in perfect harmony with the self-inquiry work of Byron Katie. So today's reading is going to be from page 130 of Discourses, and this is all from the online 7th edition. And then I'm also going to do a paragraph from page 143. So, the building up of a sense of separateness is a result of flights of imagination. Therefore, the breaking through of the self-created sense of separateness and being united with reality is secured through reversing the false workings of imagination. The act of getting rid of imagination altogether may be compared with the act of awakening from deep sleep. The different stages in the process of ridding oneself of false imagination might be compared with the dreams that often serve as a bridge between deep sleep and wakefulness. And this one now is from page 143. The ego is the center of all human activity. The attempts of the ego to secure its own extinction might be compared to the attempt of a person to stand on his own shoulders. Just as the eye cannot see itself, the ego is unable to end its own existence. All that it does to bring about self-annihilation only goes to add to its own existence. It flourishes on the very efforts directed against itself. Thus, it is unable to vanish altogether through its own desperate activity, although it succeeds in transforming its own nature. The disappearance of the ego is conditioned by the melting away of the limited mind, which is its seat. The problem of God realization is the problem of emancipating consciousness from the limitations of the mind. When the individual mind is dissolved, the whole universe relative to the mind vanishes into nothingness, and consciousness is no longer tied to anything. Consciousness is now unlimited and unclouded by anything and serves the purpose of illumining the state of infinite reality. So does anybody have anything they'd like to say about those quotes?
Just that the only way then is completely hand it over to God, because there ain't nothing else we can do. So it feels good.
Well, but I love that he says the disappearance of the ego is conditioned by the melting away of the limited mind. And what I find in the work is I do experience it to be a methodical process for melting away the limited mind. I noticed that the mind slows down. I mean, I've been doing the work for 10 years and I just notice thoughts, and I don't attach to them, which is the most important thing we can do in the work. We can't stop our thoughts, but when we stop identifying with them and we just honor them as thoughts and notice if there's something to learn from it, but we don't attach to it because we are not our thoughts. We're not our mental body. We are spirit and soul, and our body and our mind that's where our sanskaras are. Anybody else have anything they'd like to add? Okay, so I also just found in Treasures from the Meher Baba journals, just a little writing on criticism. Kitty Davy wrote this one, and it's on page 35 of Treasures from Meher Baba journals. So she's telling us that every detail of the life of each is known to the master. For example, someone insults you, calls you names, calls you a liar. And we're doing the work to this week on accepting the gift of criticism. And so this is something that Baba had to say about criticism. So somebody calls you a liar, immediately your ego is hurt. You boil inside, and if this resentment is not controlled, it shows itself in anger and excitement. In this way, you feed the ego, and instead of decreasing, it increases. Meher Baba, who sees all, calls both parties together. He rebukes, he scolds for this lack of control and lack of love. This is in quotes. Baba says, if you cannot love each other, and it appears that you cannot, then take practical steps to see that you do not fight and can give in to one another. When you begin to feed the ego with the help of the mind, and you feel resentment and excitement approaching, start laughing, start dancing, go outside for a moment until the mind is under control, but control at all costs. So this is another way we can deal with being criticized by someone. We can sing, we can dance, we can go outside, and whatever we can do to not express our anger or our disappointment or our sorrow, that's the key. Baba tells us over and over again, we're supposed to feel everything. We're not a stone, but we're not supposed to express these negative emotions. And it's really difficult in the beginning, but the more you practice it, the easier it gets. And it does become a new habit. And we just have to be patient with ourselves. I'm still working on it, and I can tell you that it's way improved from what it used to be. So today we're going to work on accepting the gift of criticism. So Diantha, if you'd like to put that sheet up, I'm going to read it, but it's also up here for you. And these writings that I post, I'm happy for you to take a picture of them if you want to with your camera, but they're not published. I'm allowed to share them. It's from Byron Katie's training, which I went through. And some of the handouts we're allowed to share. And so I think there's value in working on these basic themes because accepting the gift of criticism, just that title in itself, tells us something. And it also reminds me of how Baba would talk about, for example, Colonel Irani, Mehra's uncle. I mean, he criticized Baba nonstop. He published terrible articles about him and really tried to turn the Parsi community against him. And what was Baba's statement on it? It's helping me in my work. And Baba's also told us that when people criticize or backbite, they're actually taking your sanskaras, which is unfortunate for them, but it's, you can remember that too if that helps you to not react. Okay, so we're going to read this now. and then if you have any questions, comments afterwards before we get into our group inquiry this week, there'll be time for you we'll have a conversation. When we understand what criticism is really about, we find that it is one of the most powerful tools for self-realization and growth if you really want to know the truth. Here are some steps on how to use and understand criticism for your highest benefit. When someone says you are wrong, unkind, unclear, and uncaring, etc., feel what that feels like. And this is what we've been working on in our inquiry circle. We're really inviting the stressful emotions and feelings because we know, and neuroscientists have shown us, that none of those terrible feelings last for more than 60 to 90 seconds. And yet if we allow ourselves to feel it, then it's able to resolve itself. So settle into it before you strike out. Experience those emotions, even invite them. Ask yourself, is it true? Could they be right? And wait for an answer. After the criticism, ask yourself, was that stressful or painful? If the answer is yes, then this is a sign that you believe that the criticism is true and that you haven't dealt with it or gone deeply enough yet. If you want to end the war in your own life and mind, you may decide to gently go deeper as you inquire and discover the truth of the criticism within yourself. This is where all war ends. No matter what anyone says to you or about you, if you experience stress, then you are the one who is suffering from your hidden secret. The secret you hide even from yourself in the moment. And the mind will do its job at this point, which is to attack. Your own mind's attack is the cause of stress. Stress is the signal that it is time to ask you, time to inquire. It is an opportunity for you to know the truth. Stress is always an opportunity to experience forgiveness with the people you judge and those who judge you, and to end the stress within you. Forgiveness cannot be found anywhere else. Forgiveness is when you realize that what you think happened didn't. And I just at this point, remember Baba has said, nothing's ever happened and nothing ever will happen. So Katie's speaking from that place of awareness that this life is a dream that we're waking up from. It's all illusion. So forgiveness is when we realize that what we think happened didn't. Being honest with yourself and being vulnerable can be the end of the illusion of being manipulated in any way. When you are genuinely humble, there is no place for criticism to stick. This is where clarity takes on life as effective, kind action. Inquiry is a direct internal path to freedom from lies and deep secrets, and therefore freedom from the fear of your lies being discovered. Okay, so if anybody has any comments or questions, please feel free to speak up.
Yeah, I had an experience recently where someone criticized me and I was trying to explain Baba to him. It's very difficult because this person was a devotee of Guru Mai and had a lot of practices and rituals that he went through and, you know, was pretty into them. And I told him that I've never been able to meditate, and that Baba didn't say you should meditate. And he was like, well, what does he say? And I said, well, he didn't really say much because he was silent for 44 years. He came not to teach, but to awaken. And the more I said, I was just digging a deeper and deeper hole. And finally he said, when I reiterated that I had a hard time meditating and I've been trying for years and it just doesn't do anything for me, and that Baba didn't say you should meditate.
Okay.
Said that I was being oppositional. And so,
wait, he said you were being oppositional?
Yes, the person I was trying to explain Baba to.
Oh, okay.
Baba didn't say you had to meditate, and that it didn't do anything for me, and I tried for years. And so I just said, I think I'm going to end this call now. I didn't get into an argument with him, but it sting. I was not being oppositional. And it's so hard to explain Baba to people.
Well, yeah, I have a few thoughts if you'd like to hear them, just from listening to you. Yeah. So Baba actually has given a lot about meditation in the discourses. So somebody who likes to meditate could read those chapters on meditation. They're quite thorough. But Baba also said that was for the future, and that when his lovers were with him now, they didn't really need to meditate, Although he had some of his mandali, I think it just depends on our samskaras,
Yeah.
But I like that you just chose to end the conversation, because I used to always argue before I had the work. And then, you know, Katie just has these little, they're called Katieisms. And one of them was, do you want to be right or do you want to be free? And I really came to the point where I really rather be free than be right. So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, we don't have to
that it works for you.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for me. And he started attacking me because I didn't like to meditate. And
Yeah.
that's why I ended the call.
Well, that sounds like a perfect solution.
Yeah.
You know.
It didn't feel good though. I mean.
Well, and so, but if you don't go into his business, then you'll be able to feel equanimity, and then he'll have to work with his own stressful thoughts, because it sounds like he was the one who got off center, right?
He was very activated by the whole discussion. And, you know, I really have a hard time explaining Baba to people and
well,
what it is. I mean, because it's not a lot of practices that everybody has to do.
Yeah, I don't know how other people would feel about what I'm going to say, but my sense is that, you know, Baba just chooses us, and, you know, he just turns the key, and there's no rhyme nor reason that I can see. He knows what he's doing, but there's no logic to it. And so I don't think Baba can be explained to anybody logically. I mean, I've had a few people who I told Baba about who just embraced him, and they're having their own journey with him now. But most of my friends, I mean, I've given them the discourses and all that, and they're just not interested. And it's like, I just accept it. It's like, you know, Baba says 100 years after, you know, after his advent is when he becomes widely known. And I feel like I understand that, you know. It's like, he says, you know, how does he put it? My future is anticipated, my past is revered, and my present is ignored, basically. And I think that's just how it is, you know, for this 100 years. Anybody else?
Him. He was the one that was driving the
right. And so
all these questions.
Yes. And I really applaud that you were able to not get upset and just stay in your own business. And in the work, I mean, that's really what we learn to do. We don't argue, we just listen. And then that's it. It's like they can have their opinion, and you can, and you know, if he doesn't stop, then you can say, and I'm going to go now.
Yeah.
Sounds like exactly what you did.
I have another phrase I used on him, which I said, well, you could be right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could be right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's right for him. You know?
Yeah, it's not, I wish I could meditate. Believe me, I wish I could.
I think that's really cute. Well,
one thing I do, and I realize like you can't explain Baba to people. I just tell them, go to Wikipedia and read the chronology of his life, because my experience is very personal. It's like, you know, custom clothing made for me.
Yes.
Like, you know, I can't, it's not like buying off a rack. You know, Baba, he's customized me to, at my point of development, to wake me up and be attracted to him.
Yeah.
And a good friend of mine would always, he taught me these two words, oh well, and then walk away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's like, Tina, that's like, perhaps you're right. That's a good showstopper too. Perhaps you're right.
Yeah.
It makes both of us right. You know?
Yeah.
But you can't, I wouldn't even want to try to explain Meher Baba to people.
There's no right or wrong in this discussion.
No. He can't be explained. He's beyond that.
Yeah,
it's just impossible.
Yeah.
When I had a Vedic astrology reading in 2001, I was very impressed with this reading. It was very spiritually oriented, you know, because it's based on the Vedas. And when I said, well, where can I learn more, you know, and I wouldn't leave him alone, he said, well, everything I know comes from Mayor Baba, and you just have to get his discourses. And of course, Baba doesn't talk about astrology at all, but I ordered the discourses, and as soon as I opened the package and see his face, he just took me in, and that was it. It was over, like in an instant. I was just his. So who knows? We all come to Baba in our own way and in our own time. And, you know, we just—
Understand if you're trying to grasp it with your rational mind.
No, Baba, so that's what I love about the work, because we have to get rid of our limited mind. But I have found for me, and for some people, the people who are interested in self-inquiry, using the mind to get rid of it is a really good path. I mean, I've been able to lay a lot of stressful beliefs to rest through this self-inquiry. And I really did feel that Baba gave it to me as a gift when I was really suffering. It was like a bridge, because his words are so potent. And as we talked about last week, you know, we need the how-to. Well, how do I get from here to there? I need some baby steps. And that's what I feel the work provides. And of course, I know the work's not for everybody, and I have no problem with that. So does anybody else have anything they'd like to share before we get into our weekly inquiry? So, okay. So this week and if you have paper and pencil, I think it's a good idea, because you can write it, you can write your sentence down, and then you can remember it, even though I'll keep repeating it. But I am going to work, we're going to work a lot with turnarounds today too. And well, actually, I know, Diantha, what I forgot to say, I wanted to post the Judge-Your-Neighbor Worksheet. Remember I sent that to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually what I'd like to do is have you put that up. The work, let's see. Yeah, Judge-Your-Neighbor PDF. So I want to spend a few minutes talking with you about, this is the main thing in the work, the Judge-Your-Neighbor Worksheet. And I've used it for years for myself and with clients. And I found over time that if you actually just thoroughly do the first statement, and this week our statement is going to be, I am, and then you're going to fill in the emotion with so-and-so because he hurt me, or no, he hurt me with his criticism, or she hurt me with her criticism. I'm going to have each of you right now find a situation where you believe the thought that somebody hurt you with their criticism. And I want you to just take a moment and find that and just write it down. I am upset with so-and-so because they hurt me with their criticism. We're all going to do this work, and nobody has to know who you're working on, so it stays very private. But I'm going to go with you to fill out this worksheet, because I think it's important for you to have this awareness in the beginning. It's very helpful. Okay. So is there anyone who cannot find their situation where they're hurt? They hurt me with their criticism.
Does it have to be direct criticism, or could it be just a lack of empathy?
It can be, if it feels like criticism to you, I would go with it. And I really like to encourage you to trust the images or memories that arise for you, because our inner wisdom is always ready to show us what we need to work on. And sometimes it can be surprising. So yeah, I would go with it. It can be very subtle. Is there anyone who needs more time to find their situation? And just speak out now if you need more time. But you have to unmute yourselves if you need more time so that I can hear you.
I need a
So
little
it's
bit. I need
Oh, what?
I need a little bit more time.
Okay.
Not
Would you
too
just
much.
not too much? Just tell us when you're ready, okay?
Okay.
Because I don't want the train to leave without everybody on it, so to speak.
Will do.
And so was that Jackie talking? I don't see everybody.
It was Leitka.
Oh, hi, Leica. Okay, so while Leica's finding her situation, I'm just going to talk to you about the Judge-Your-Neighbor Worksheet. So the work is about pointing the finger outward. And the reason we do this is because it's actually going to show us our own blind spot ultimately. And we've been taught it's not right to judge, and yet it's the nature of the mind to judge. And so Katie says all war belongs on paper. So we get our judgmental thoughts down on paper. And it is a judgmental thought to say somebody hurt me with their criticism. We are judging them, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, I'm done.
All right, super. So everybody's got their first sentence. I am emotion, fill in the blank, with so-and-so because, and I'm going to use the plural they rather than he, she, and you all have your particular person. Okay, they hurt me with their criticism. That's the statement we're going to take to inquiry. And we can, in the beginning, we learned to take the whole statement. I am upset with so-and-so because, but I found over time it's not necessary. We can just keep it really simple and we can penetrate more deeply into it. So they hurt me with their criticism. So statement 2, in this situation, how do you want him or her to change? What do you want him or her to do? And then you write it out. I want, and you be very specific, and it has to be a short, simple sentence. And the caveat I would give you here that I learned over the years is don't just say, I want him to apologize, because that's probably not going to happen immediately. But you could say something like, I want him to know that he hurt me, or I want him to understand that words hurt. So we're not asking them to, to make a verbal overture, but just find something subtle that how you would like them to change. Actually, I'm sorry, I just gave you the advice, which is number 3. The wants on number 2 is where you can whine and tantrum. So there you can say whatever you want. I want him to get on his knees and apologize. I want her to, completely change. I want her to recognize what she did. I want her to, just whatever let your ego go crazy in number 2. The reason I'm trying to delineate these, and I'm sorry I jumped ahead to the advice, is because often the wants, the advice, and the needs of numbers 2, 3, and 4 get mixed together, and they're actually going to be very differentiated. So if you always remember that your wants are where you can whine and tantrum. Now, does everybody have a short, simple sentence of what they want?
Yeah.
Does anybody need more time? Let me put it that way. And you can see Katie's example. I want Paul to see that he is wrong. I want him to stop lying to me. And she's angry with him because he lied to her. So now we're going to move on to the advice that you would give them. So in this situation, what advice would you offer him or her? He or she should or shouldn't. And I've given this example before, but it was pretty life-changing for me. So I was taking a class specifically on going deeper into the work, and the trainer had discovered for herself that if you just give them the advice, for instance, her example was her kids, one of her kids should put the food back in the fridge. And my example was my son should close the garden gate. But what she found, and she happened to be Katie's daughter, so she had been doing the work, you know, for a long, long time. She said she realized that if she gave them what she called doable advice, so my kid should understand that it upsets me when he leaves the food out. That's actually more doable than just put the food away, because nobody likes to be told what to do. Have you ever noticed that? I mean, if you really think about it for a minute, we don't like getting advice from people. So in this situation, if we're going to give them advice, let's soften it a little bit. He should remember how much I love my garden in my situation with my son closing the garden gate. And the true story is, after I told him 1,000 times that he should close the garden gate and he never did, when I told him, I really love my garden. And so it was like the work was, he should understand how much I love my garden. You know, I didn't want the deer to come in and eat it. He never left the gate open again. I'm telling you, that is the absolute truth. So I really believe in giving doable advice. You know, just really soften it, like how he could feel or understand how I feel, or, you know, just soften it. So I need, and Katie's example here, one of them is I need him to really listen to me. And you could say that for a lot of, you know, in my situation with my son, I need him to listen to me. And then I would tell him how much I love my garden and how important it is to me. Does everybody have their number 3 now? Okay, so now we're going to go to what you need in this situation in order to be happy. So this is number 4. In order for you to be happy in this situation, what do you need him or her to think, say, feel, or do? And one of the things we talked about in this particular statement is that what everybody needs in order to be happy is very unique. And so you really take some time and notice what makes me happy. And oftentimes, as my trainer had discovered, she didn't even know. She didn't even know what her favorite flower was. She just chose roses because that's what her grandmother and mother loved. But when she went to a flower stall and she just looked at all the flowers, she recognized, you know, that the Gerber daisy was the one that she really loved. So really honor your own heart and what makes you happy in this situation. So I need him or her to, and then just say what you really need in order to be happy. And remember to keep it short and simple. And if you have more than one concept, you can make 2 sentences. But you can ever only question one concept at a time. Now, does anybody need more time? I know some of you are muted, so unmute if you need more time.
Yeah, I need more time.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So while Jackie's finding hers, I'm going to just remind you that I have gotten to the place with most of my clients that we spend the whole hour in number 1. And then when they look at the entire worksheet, when they've thoroughly done their first statement, which is really the umbrella over the whole thing, the rest of the worksheet just collapses. It's like a domino effect. It's like, oh no, there's no sting in that anymore. No, there's no trigger there. But what I realized is that everybody here is fairly new to the work, and so I need to not jump ahead, and I need to spend some time in this with you. And then I'll really like to hear your feedback. But I think you'll find it valuable to just explore every little nuance of your worksheet.
So Anne, I have a question. It's like,
Okay.
So with the question, what do you need to be happy? I mean, for me, what I need to be happy is not to be focused on the other person.
In this, well, it's in this situation. And so you need to not
Right.
be focused on it. Is that what you said?
Well, yeah, because it kind of went to a wall, and so there's no dialoguing or anything further to do. So I just need to accept it.
So realize you have to put the person's name. I need so-and-so to,
Right.
because
well,
otherwise you're turning it to yourself. So it sounds like you need them to, well, it's like what her example is. I need them to stop talking to me.
Well, it would be nice if the person would do what I need them to do, but I know they're not going to do it. So,
That doesn't matter.
okay.
This is what you need in order to be happy. And you'll realize when you get to the turnarounds, all of this is for you. And it's going to show you the pathway to your freedom, because you're going to give yourself, and this is what the work always leads us to.
Yeah.
We're going to give ourselves what we want from others, but we need to be really honest and notice what we want from others.
Well, I think I skipped ahead here. So
Yeah. So I need.
well, I kind of put that in. I put that as like, when you said, what can you offer? I skipped ahead, I guess, and said, I'd like her to notice her tone and words and judgments. I kind of put this answer there. So,
but that works. I need her to notice her tone and judgments. But that's good advice also.
Yeah.
And anyway, you can't do it wrong, like
No.
So if you, I mean, I've written so many scribbly worksheets and crossed out and started over, and the more you do this, the easier it gets. And
Right.
you can't do it wrong. It's all roads lead to home. So So, but remember to look carefully at the way it's written, because then you won't fall into the trap of what, because what you said, I need to. No, that's not the work. The work is I need her to.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I put I need her to and realized, I think I just skipped ahead.
Okay.
So I got
Are you
it.
okay now? Do you got it? Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to use, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
So, oh, you're welcome. So in number 5, this is the complaints, and it's just a list. And be petty and judgmental. What do you think of him or her in this situation? So this person is, and the example is a liar, arrogant, loud, dishonest, unconscious. Try to stick to single words if you can. And just, this is where you can just let your, your ego really have its way. And when I was going through the training, we didn't, well, I'll wait till we get there, because I think you have enough on your plate right now. So just take a moment and just write those adjectives about, what you think of them in this situation. When you're believing the thought, they hurt me with their criticism. They hurt me with their criticism. Who hasn't believed that? And also, just so you all know, these are downloadable from thework.com. That's Byron Katie's website, thework.com. Lots of free resources, and you can download mini worksheets and facilitation guides, and even lists on emotions and reactions. If you can't find the emotion you're looking for, they've got a fabulous lists of emotions and many other things there too. Okay, has everybody found their number 5, your list of what you think of them? If you haven't, please speak up. Okay, we're going to move on to number 6. What is it about this person and situation that you don't ever want to experience again? So you fill in the blank. I don't ever want, and then whatever it is. And you see the examples below. I don't ever want Paul to lie to me again. I don't ever want to be disrespected again. So just find what you don't ever want to have happen again. Is there anyone who needs more time? Okay.
I need a little bit more.
Okay, we'll wait another minute. You bet. So for some of you who are finished, you can see on the bottom left, especially the ones who are new here today, the 4 questions of the work, which I'm going to take you through with each statement, 1 through 4. And then we do something different with numbers 5 and 6 on the Judge-Your-Neighbor Worksheet. And I'm going to take you through that. And what we do is we do a group inquiry. Martha, are you talking? Because you're muted. Okay. Jackie, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, great. So let's roll back up to the, do we want to keep the Judge-Your-Neighbor Worksheet? No, I don't think we need to. Just, let's put Baba up for our, for our inquiry, okay? And so for those who are new today, what we do is I will say the statement, they hurt me with their criticism. Is it true? And I will take you through the 4 questions. And you can unmute. Everybody can unmute for this session. And it's just a yes or a no. And if you don't know for sure, it's a no. And then when we get to question 3, Diantha will put up the sub questions. Question 3 has lots of ways to respond. So we're going to just start now with the first question. And everybody, the work actually is meditation. So Tina, this can be your meditation. Okay, so the reason Katie calls it meditation is because we really drop inside to find our answers. The answer is waiting for us deep inside. And of course, with Baba, we know it's the voice of the heart. It's Baba's intuitional voice within us. And it's alive in everyone. And what I love about the work is it gives me a practice to get very still and listen and trust that voice is there, just waiting to be asked. So the first question, is it true they hurt me with their criticism? Is it true that they hurt me with their criticism?
Yes.
Yeah, and when you're ready, it's just a yes or a no. Yes.
Yes.
So if you just didn't like what they said, is that a yes?
Well, did you feel hurt?
Yeah.
Then it's a yes. So if you remember when we were reading Accepting the Gift of Criticism, when somebody criticizes us, it's possible that we're not going to be triggered. And that's because I'm going to give you an example right now. And this is a really I think it's a pretty cute story. Byron Katie would go into the prison system and teach the work to hardcore criminals. And she tells the story of when she was working with some men. And I don't remember what they were working on, but one of the inmates said to her, "Your hair looks terrible. You know, you really need to do something about it." And he kept criticizing her, and your glasses aren't the right ones for you. And, he went on and on about her physical appearance. And Katie, she's just like, she lives in bliss all the time. And her comment to him was like, "Oh, tell me more." She was just interested in hearing what he had to say. And, when she's telling the story to a group of people about this situation, she was just fascinated to hear his comments. And then she made the comment, wow, he would maybe when he gets out of prison, he can go to, beauty school and but become somebody who really does that for a living. But do you see what I'm saying? It didn't touch her, but she didn't get mad. She was just like curious. And if you don't get triggered by criticism, but you think maybe there's something here I need to learn, you can just get curious and say, "Tell me more. I want to hear about it in detail." That's like coming from a place of real freedom. Okay, so we're going to move on to question 2. So if your answer was yes in question 1, then you just wait. But for those of us who said yes to, is it true that they hurt me with their criticism? The second question is, can you absolutely know that it's true that they hurt you with their criticism? And take your time and really ponder. Can you absolutely know that it's true that they hurt you with their criticism? No.
No.
Remember, if you can't absolutely know that it's true, then it's just a no.
But
Might be true.
If we felt hurt, then it's a yes, right? Can you
Well,
absolutely know?
okay.
If you're going by the emotional body.
Yes, I hear what you're saying. So here's what came up for me, Jackie. Tell me if this helps or not. So the situation that came up for me happened, 40 years ago. And what I realized is that the criticism that she gave, I knew it wasn't true, but I felt self-doubt because I just had an ongoing sense of unworthiness, that there's something wrong with me. And that's work I've done a lot. And in the work, you can actually get to the place where it's like what they call the yay turnaround. Yay, there's something wrong with me. I'm in the human condition, and I can have compassion for everyone's suffering. But in my situation, it was a newly married couple, and she criticized me by saying that I was after her husband, which actually shocked me because I was absolutely not interested in her husband. And however, I went around feeling hurt and just wounded. And now when I look at it, I see that it was just because of general self-doubt. If anybody says anything negative to me, there must be something wrong with me. It's like I would second guess myself. But in the work now, I understand that if somebody criticizes me and it doesn't trigger me, I can just let it go. I don't have to prove them wrong. I don't have to do anything. So I don't know if that helps you or not, but.
Yes, I guess so.
Okay.
I think there's a place here where I start to doubt my own feelings.
Yes.
And I shouldn't doubt my own feelings. So
Yes.
maybe it's the wording. Do I absolutely know that I'm hurt? Yes. It's, it's on my side.
But that's not the question. It's they hurt me with their criticism. So you can't absolutely know that they hurt you. It sounds like they triggered your own self-doubt.
Oh, right.
Which is a completely different story,
Sure.
Which is really what the work brings us to. We come to realize what Baba tells us, that this world is all a projection so that we can wake up. We've projected the world. He said the mind projects the world, and it's necessary for our awakening. So we have to project, because the unconscious can only become conscious by projecting. But when we believe that it's out there where the problem is, that's where we get into trouble. So the work is helping us slowly, gently withdraw all of our negative projections and integrating the pain, the wound, the self-doubt. We slowly heal those parts of ourself by withdrawing the projection from wherever it landed. And this is deep work, and it takes a lot of soul searching and patience, but it's a very beautiful way to live. And what I love about it is that we can always know that whatever triggers us out there is absolutely for our awakening. And Baba says Maya is the necessary medium for God realization. So that kind of takes the sting out of it,
But when we use the word projection, there's a psychological term, projection, where I see something in you that is in me, but I'm putting it onto you.
Yes.
And I won't let it myself see it in me. Is that the same? I mean,
that's exactly
similar?
what it is. Because so Baba says God realization is when the unconscious becomes fully conscious. So we all have a huge amount of unconscious energy. So we have to project. We project positive things too. We project negative and positive. And so we can enjoy the positives. It's like Katie says, if you're having a happy dream, enjoy it, But if you're having a nightmare, question your thoughts and wake up. So when we enjoy a relationship with someone, we know in ultimate reality, we're all one self in this dream of life, right? We know that we are embodied as the individual drops, but in ultimate reality, there is only one. And so what I love about the work is that it helps me withdraw the projections, do my inner work on what I was believing was wrong with the other person, and then finding my freedom. Now, that doesn't mean that people in your world, in this consensual reality, don't have issues, but you don't get triggered by it.
Yeah.
What happens is you see the person who's maybe judgmental and critical, and all you feel is compassion because they're suffering. It's like Byron Katie says, until you can love Hitler, your work's not done. So that's kind of an ultimate example. It doesn't mean you condone their behavior, but we know how Baba, we can look to Baba for his example. He used all of the adverse conditions against him for his work. He can just take everything and use it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And the first thought I have, I've come across the statement that says, if you spot it, you got it. And that has helped me tremendously, because when I, go off like kerosene in a match,
yes,
I could pull back and say, well, how how do I do this?
Yes.
Because I'm putting it all out on you. But first
Yes.
I have to be compassionate with myself to
You
bring it
have
back
to be
and say, I
compassionate.
do this thing. Yeah.
You,
and then that stops
do.
going forward. I stop putting it on the person to the extreme degree. Yeah, yeah.
And so let's say you're in a working situation and you really have a disagreement with that other person, and you know, maybe their way of collaborating doesn't suit you. So your role is to present yourself objectively, dispassionately, and clearly, and then let it go. Because what they do, so in the earlier sessions, one of the sessions we spend on the 3 kinds of business, there's your business, there's the other people's business, and there's God's business. And every time we go out of our own business, we suffer. And this is a very foundational awareness of the work. And so, whose business are you in when you get really triggered by this person's behavior? And like I say, this is not a cakewalk. This is not an easy thing. And I was in too big of a hurry when I started doing the work, and I was actually getting physically ill because I just wanted to get through it. And then I remembered, Byron Katie says, be gentle with yourself. You just take one gentle step at a time. And we always fall back, and then we, you know, it's like 1 step back, 2 steps forward. And I had to learn not to beat myself up. And so when you learn to not beat your own self up, then you're not beating other people up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just being clear, you're stating your case, you're willing to have a conversation, and you're also willing to walk away, you know, if there's no collaboration.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that I found in my own personal life with my husband and children that relationships do improve. Nobody else has to change. I just have to change. And that's really what I love about the work, is that it's all about me. Can I just do my own work and let everybody else be? It's pretty empowering.
Yeah.
Tina, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I picked an example that it wasn't that upsetting, but it was just somebody that, you know, asked me how I was doing with the quarantine. And I said it was really hard for me and I felt very lonely. And
Yes.
the response was, oh, I'm doing great. I'm enjoying it. I'm, you know, playing the piano. I'm walking, you know.
Yeah.
Like very invalidated by his response.
Okay, so he invalidated me. You could write that down, and this would be a whole separate inquiry. Is it true? And you will come to the place where you'll see, this is where this person is showing you where your work is. Because what I would do in that situation is I would notice that his listening skills aren't the best. And I would just feel compassion for him. He asks how you're doing, and he doesn't even honor for a moment your suffering. And so his heart of compassion hasn't awakened yet. And you can just feel compassion for him for that. And then, you know, maybe you'll just notice that there's something else there that's going to make you feel better. But you don't stay dwelling on what this person did, because that's his business. Does that help? I mean, these are baby steps we have to take. We're withdrawing.
I didn't argue with him, or
Yeah. But it hurt you.
Person.
Did you say it hurt you?
What?
What was your original statement, that it hurt you?
Yeah, he just told me how great he was doing when I told him I was having a really hard time.
So this is how the work works. Nobody can hurt you. Katie says that's your job. Only you can hurt yourself. I know that is tough love, but I've really come to see that it's true. And I love that I found a way to just keep finding what I'm thinking and believing out there that's the cause of my suffering. If I believe that that person has the power to hurt me, I'm suffering in paradise. And what happens is everything turns into compassion. You just start feeling compassion. People who, you know, aren't able to empathize, he was not able to empathize with you. And so, you know, you just notice your heart will just open to feeling that love for him, you know, and maybe sending him that beautiful thought that maybe his heart will open to empathy. And then you just go on your way, finding your freedom one step at a time.
Yeah, I didn't know this person. He was a stranger,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, we're all one in reality, so I would even question that anybody could possibly be a stranger. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to say before we continue on? So I think at this point, everybody found their number 2 question. Can you absolutely know that it's true? So we're going to move on to the sub questions now. How do you react? What happens when you believe the thought that they hurt me with their criticism? And Diantha's going to post this file right now. This is really helpful in the beginning to look at the sub questions because they actually help you not go into what Katie calls the story, because that's what we tend to do is we just go into a story about how we react. And so a way to cut through that is, I want you to notice what emotions you feel when you're believing that thought and just speak them out because we're doing a group inquiry. When you believe the thought, they hurt me with their criticism, what emotions do you feel when you believe that thought?
I feel kind of shame. I feel shamed.
Okay, and Tina, can you find in your body where you feel the shame? Just close your eyes and see if you can locate that feeling of shame in your body. And everybody's doing this.
It was like stomach, I guess.
Okay, so, and again, get really still and start noticing where you feel these emotions in your body and describe the sensations. And when you can do that, it's amazing what will open up because we have been taught to repress and suppress all of our uncomfortable feelings and emotions. And neuroscientists have shown that no emotion or sensation lasts for more than 60 to 90 seconds. And if you can stay in the witness mode, and we're going to do that in a minute, with that uncomfortable sensation in your body, something will shift. It may take you to a deeper core work, like oftentimes underneath anger is sadness or fear. We just don't know what the layers are. And if you feel the sensation like a trembling in your heart or anger, maybe in your diaphragm, and you just sit with it. You don't try to change it, just be with it in the witness mode, because remember, you're not your body and you're not your mind and you're not your emotions or sensations. You are soul, you are pure spirit. And so right now, I'm going to have everybody find that uncomfortable emotion and locate it in your body, and we're going to sit for a minute. And then if anybody wants to share what they, to report back what they noticed, we can do that after the 60 to 90 seconds. I will ask you. So stay in the witness mode and breathe gently. Would anyone like to share what they noticed? And if you didn't notice anything, this is something you can practice on your own. When you find the stressful thought and then find the stressful feeling and emotion and just sit with it, preferably when you're alone, and just be with it in stillness. And oftentimes an image will arise. And so we can go back to the sub-question.
I want to share.
I want to
Oh,
share.
okay,
Go ahead.
good.
This is Martha.
Yes, Martha.
Let's see. I felt the upsetness in my stomach, tightness in my stomach and my chest, headache and clenching my jaw. This is sort of my common physical reactions to criticism or upsetness, contention with this person.
Okay, so I recommend, because you named a lot of places in your body, just focus on one at a time. Okay.
Okay.
Like just focus on the clenching in your jaw.
Okay.
And I'm looking at our time and I want to get through turnarounds today, but this is something that people can practice on their own. When you can just witness one sensation at a time,
Okay.
the clenched jaw, then you'll probably notice an image might arise from your childhood, or you might notice that the energy softens and that you're more focused on another part of your body. So this is something that's ongoing that we have to just work with, constantly. But I think you will notice as you get still with it without trying to change anything, but just honoring that there is a wisdom of the body that's showing us something, then something will shift for you in a new awareness.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. So when you're believing the thought, they hurt me with their criticism, everyone now just notice your earliest memory when you might have first had that thought that somebody hurt you with their criticism. And if no image arises, that's fine. But if an image arises, write it down, because that's going to be a deeper level of your work. And just notice any image that arises when you're believing the thought, they hurt me with their criticism. Most often what I have found is that we have situations from our childhood that never got resolved. For instance, they hurt me with their criticism. And then we have to keep projecting it in our day-to-day life because we're trying to wake up to reality. And the only way we can be done with this belief is to question it, to withdraw the projection and integrate it. And if it happened as a young child with a parent, we can forgive that parent internally and be the adult for ourselves. We can tell that child part of ourselves, I'm here for you 24/7, and I'm going to take care of you. And it's unfortunate that this happened, but I mean, this is a whole nother session, and we've done the work on this before, and we will continue to revisit it because it's so many deep layers that we carry around. And I'm just thinking of Baba right now and how he talks about the sanskaras, and the family group karmas that we have. And we just have to understand that this is deep, intricate work, and we're just unwinding these things piece by piece, very patiently. So did anybody have an image arise when they were believing the thought? Maybe their earliest memory, they hurt me with their criticism. Does anybody have anything they would like to share? Okay. So we're going to go on. So whose business are you in when you're believing the thought, they hurt me with their criticism? Whose business are you in?
Their business.
Yeah, we're in the other person's business. When we believe they hurt me, we're in their business. And every time we go into somebody else's business, we suffer. So this is a foundational concept that we just need to allow ourselves to be with, and it will become clearer and clearer over time. So now I want you to notice, how do you treat that person when you're believing the thought that they hurt you with their criticism? And just speak out when you notice. How do you treat them, even if only in your mind?
Get as far away from them as I can.
Yeah.
Anger.
Retaliation.
What was the last thing?
Retaliation. Striking
Oh,
back.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Good to notice.
Counterpunching.
Yes. So just keep noticing how you treat that person when you're believing the thought. And now, this is a more difficult question, I find. How do you treat yourself when you're believing the thought that they hurt me with their criticism? See if you can find, how am I treating myself when I'm believing that thought? And like I said, I just was full of self-doubt and feelings of unworthiness, because even though I knew it wasn't true, I must have done something wrong.
I get mad at myself for reacting that way.
Okay. Yeah.
I ultimately feel very ashamed, but at the moment, I feel very grandiose. I'm trying to get some power, so I feel powerful. Yeah, by being angry.
Okay, good to notice. So now the next time that happens, because believe me, the universe will give you this opportunity to notice how you treat yourself and notice how you treat them. So this is where the witness is our spirit. And the more we can live in the witness mode, the closer we are to oneness and equanimity. It's very important not to get carried away with enjoyment and, suffering. We somehow have to find a middle place in there where we can have enjoyment, but we're not going to get carried away with it. And we know that we have to suffer, but we don't have to make it worse than it already is by feeding it with our anger.
This is Martha, and I react with self-pity.
Yes.
Sadness. Yeah.
So this is a big one. I've worked so hard on this, and believe me, I just notice the self-pity. Just be with it. Don't tie into it. Don't feed it, but just honor that it's there and be curious as a scientist would be in the laboratory. We're going into the laboratory of our inner world, and we're just going to notice it. Oh, there's self-pity. And then watch what it changes into when we don't feed it, because it's not serving us. I mean, I used to pity myself all the time, and the work gave me I felt like it helped me dig myself out of a dark hole. And yeah, and we become very, I want to say independent, although we're always holding on to Baba's Daman with both hands. We are so fortunate. He's the one we can hold on to, but we're not going to hang on to what other people think of us. And Baba lives in our heart. That's where Baba lives. And the more we clear our heart out, even of self-pity, which doesn't seem so terrible, yet it's a dark corner, and Baba wants us to clear our hearts out so there's more room for him. So now I just want you to notice what you fail to see when you're believing the thought that they hurt me with their criticism. What do you fail to see? And I've already heard you say things. I mean, you can repeat the same things. You fail to see that, you got enveloped in self-pity. You fail to see that, you got really puffed up with grandiosity. Those are all things we fail to see in the moment, right?
What I really fail to see is how deeply sad I am.
Oh.
That's
say-
what I wanted. I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
I
Mom.
agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I agree. That's what I wanted to say too. After I said the self-pity thing, I feel really sad and depressed, and sometimes
Okay.
I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
Although,
You're talking to the one who identified with sadness. That was my identity. And, you know, I was also a happy person, but boy, the moods when I was sad,
Mhm.
I mean, I fed it big time. So I'm telling you, this is really, really important to just notice it and just see what's underneath it, because underneath everything is love. Love is who we really are. That is our essence. All of these other things are the sanskaras that are just waiting to be unwound. But, you know, I can tell you as a drama queen that it can be so much fun to tie into the sad story, the tragedy.
Yeah.
I've done that.
Yeah,
It's
I can-
not, yeah. Tina?
I can identify with that. I really liked when I would sob all day about something. And
yeah.
now
I know.
like I've done these different personal growth things and
Yeah.
Zen, and
Yeah.
I kind of miss that other part of myself that, you know, we just.
Well, we'll keep working on this because I can tell that there's a real resonance here. And in the interest of time, I am going to move on, but we will revisit this again and again, I promise you. We're going to move on to question 4. So, who would you be without the thought that they hurt me with their criticism? Who are you without that thought? You can just put Baba up now, because we're on question 4. Who are you? And I like to do that last segue into question 4. What do you fail to see? Because all the things you fail to see become who you are without the thought. You know, you're someone who just notices that, you know, you feed on the drama, right? And what else? Who are you without the thought they hurt me with their criticism?
Free.
Free. Yeah.
And then I'm stronger to speak back to them.
And
Just that-
hopefully in a non-retaliatory
Yeah,
way.
no, in a way to try to help them see
Yes.
my side,
Yes.
not judging who's right,
Yes.
but just
Yeah.
to, instead of contracting and feeling small like a hurt
Yes.
child.
Exactly. Yes. Without that thought, I feel empowered. You know, I feel empowered. Now, I'm like I said, I really want to. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say I feel my inner self. If I
Beautiful.
don't have that thought that all the sad thoughts and all that, I can go to the inner place and feel
Yes.
God, feel Baba.
Yes. Beautiful. Okay. So in the interest of time, we're going to go to the turnarounds, which follow the Judge-Your-Neighbor Worksheet. We're working on statement 1, and I think next week we'll just keep on with this. I think we just need to go deeper into this particular one. So Diantha's going to put up the turnarounds for the work. And what we do here is we find, I'm just going to read this. He hurt me or they hurt me with their criticism. For you, whether it's a he or a she, find 3 genuine specific examples for each of the turnarounds below that could be as true or truer than your original statement. So first we do the turnaround, the complete turnaround to ourself, which is I hurt me with my criticism. So in this situation, and I've heard you give examples, so I want you to just say them out loud so that you get a real awareness of how this inquiry works. I hurt me with my criticism. What would be an example of that?
Judging myself.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah, I judge myself. For me, it's when I believe I'm unworthy. I hurt me with my criticism. We are worthy because we're God's creation. We don't have to prove our worth. We're just worthy because we're created. So I hurt me with my criticism when I believe I'm not worthy. What else? Does anybody else have an example? How do I hurt myself with my criticism? In this situation where somebody I believed hurt me.
Well, I hurt myself by not behaving as an adult because I'm
Okay.
not coming from an adult position.
Yeah, and that makes your soul, I mean, the soul is aloof. The way Baba explains it is the soul is aloof from the bodies, but our spirit gets entwined with our mental and physical and emotional bodies. So your spirit is not happy with not being the adult, right? Because the spirit is what we're trying to free in all of this. So does anybody else have an example of how I hurt me with my criticism?
Well,
Okay,
I hurt
Oh, go ahead.
me with my criticism by contracting, distancing myself instead of responding to them in a timely way that allows us to work it out, to each see both
Okay.
sides.
Yes, yes. I have one that I never thought of before, but I hurt me with my criticism when I respond that way, I'm actually inviting the universe to keep giving me that test again. I have to keep getting tested until I get through it, until I withdraw the projection that anybody could possibly hurt me. I have to keep doing it to myself. So I'm hurting me with my criticism. So now we're going to move on to the turnaround to the other. And in this statement, there could be a couple of turnarounds to the other. So, and it always starts with an I hurt him with his criticism. Now, what would be an example of I hurt him with his criticism? And John, you've already spoken to this, but let's just get these examples so we all get some familiarity with how this works.
Well, I'll attack the other person.
Yeah, so you're hurting him. He criticized, with his criticism, you're hurting him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it could also be I hurt me with his criticism, which we actually spoke to a little bit in the complete turnaround to the self. I hurt me with my criticism, with my self-doubts. And then I think the example I gave about the projections, that could also work for I hurt me with his criticism. I'm just going to keep getting more criticism until I learn my lesson. So now we're going to go to the turnaround to the opposite. And like I said, let's continue this next week. We're going to do the whole worksheet as long as it takes. So if you can print one out or you have it written down, be sure to bring it next time. And he didn't hurt me with his criticism. And then, isn't there one below that? He helped me. I think maybe it went bumped to another page, Diantha. There's different ways to do the opposite. He didn't hurt me with his criticism and he helped me with his criticism. How could that be true? He helped me with his criticism. Given what we've talked about today, how did he help me with his criticism?
He showed me where my wound is.
Yes, he shows you where your wound is, and in Katie's vernacular, he showed me where my work is.
My work is there.
I mean, that's, because this is called the work. But yes, it's the same thing, really. He shows me where my wound is. And this doesn't mean you have to put yourself out there and be with people who are going to keep being hurtful and critical. You have to take care of yourself and give yourself as much time as you need, without taking on everything all at once. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is the process that I had to really learn to be gentle with myself. We have to forgive ourselves for our own unconsciousness. We know from Baba that it's the nature of this entire game we're in. We're going from unconscious to conscious, and we're going to just do the best we can, and that's what we have to do. Now I always close with a quote from Baba, but does anybody have anything they would like to say before we close? And we can stay on a little after the recording stops too, but we try to keep it to a certain length of time. So I had a note here that I wanted to share with you. I remember when I read in Lord Maher, it was said that, you know who Ramana Maharshi is? He was an Indian saint, and he was on the 6th plane. And when he passed away, Baba said he took him from the 6th to the 7th plane, as also he did with Sri Aurobindo. But Ramana Maharshi was famous for just asking the question, who am I? And that was the only inquiry he ever did. And he went all the way to the 6th plane with who am I? And Baba tells us that there's only one question, who am I? And there's only one answer, I am God. But between the question and the answer is this entire creation that we're in. And anyway, for some reason that Ramana came up for me. And so, you know, just gives you perspective. I guess if we were really, you know, very enlightened, we wouldn't have to question so many thoughts. But
Yeah.
if they help, it's worth it. So I'm going to read to you from Lord Maher, page 924, and it's entitled, "The Worries and Troubles of the World Are Due to Thoughts." Thoughts and thoughts. Thinking should be stopped. And I'm just stopping here to say, this is how we slow our thinking down. Get the thoughts down on paper and question them, and notice that the mind becomes more peaceful and more clear and still. And then Baba says, thinking should be stopped. I am going to take upon myself the thinking of the world, which will severely affect my health. A time will come when I will be so disabled that the Mandali will have to feed me and administer water to my lips. All will worry about me, and except for a few, the majority of you will go away. You will see what will happen. My suffering will be so unlimited that others will not be able to bear the sight of it, as it will practically turn me into a corpse. But after this boundless anguish, in horrible pain, and with a wrecked and nearly lifeless body, I will open my mouth for that one unique cause, and every utterance of mine will be worshipped. My words will be so sacred, even they will work wonders. So, Jai Baba, everyone.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba.
Thank you so much for sharing today.
Thank you, Anne.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.